All right, y'all. Welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Let me bring you. Look. I love my sisters, man, and I appreciate them, and I thank them so much for their fire and their passion. Because I'm gonna be honest with y'all, we need to have the conversation. So I'm joined by my sisters, Corinna Denise, my sister Kimberly Morrow. I want to apologize to our special guest, Caroline Brewer, who's been waiting patiently. She's like, "What did I just walk into?" Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, Corinna. You on mute. Let's bring my sister Caroline Brewer. Caroline, she is an author, and she has written a book called Save Their Names, and she's also an educator and activist that she's looking to do her part to teach children about social justice. What a day to be on the show here, Caroline. So I sincerely apologize for the wait, but let's talk about the work that you're doing. And if you want to share your thoughts, not putting you on the spot, but this is a very important time for Black folks and an important time for even us to have conversations about social justice. Talk to us about your new book, Save Their Names, the inspiring new book that you're putting out. It's inspired by George Floyd protests, and it's a first of its kind in the aftermath, featuring a child's perspective. What was the talk to us a little bit about this work and how you got to this place and why it's important for us to teach our children about social justice.
Thank you so much for having me, Paraji. I want to
You're
say
welcome.
I invited Adrian Brandon, and I hope we can bring him on. He is the illustrator of Say Their Names. He's an artist living in Brooklyn, and he did some very special work around the Black Lives Matter movement. He created a series called the Stolen Series. We also have Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, who I believe you know, and he
Yes.
agreed to be on. He's been a big supporter of this book. He and I have worked together on environmental justice issues, which are, of course, social justice issues. So I hope we can bring them into the conversation. They've been waiting along with me
I
to
appreciate that.
have a moment on the show. So, Say Their Names is a book about 7-year-old Aaliyah's journey to create a movement around love in the aftermath of George Floyd's death and murder and the protest. And it came to me after I visited Black Lives Matter Plaza here in Washington, D.C. And I thought about how children are processing these. Tragic experiences that too many Americans and overwhelmingly African Americans and Native Americans are having when it comes to police activity and also to racial actors. And so I wanted to write something for children in the voice of a child, through the eyes of a child, with the hope and imagination of a child. And what's been beautiful is that this book has been speaking to people of all ages. I call it a community book, not a children's book. And I want to say a year ago, I came across a speech from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that I had not been aware of. And he spoke to middle school, junior high school students in Philadelphia. And what he said to them is that they should have in their life's blueprint a deep belief in their own dignity, their own worth, and their own somebodyness. He said, don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. And I know that that's what this book is doing for our young people. It's creating a sense of a positive identity. It's creating a sense of strength and agency. I get letters from children, letters from parents, letters from teachers telling me that children come away from reading this book feeling transformed, feeling more powerful, certainly more empathetic. And that's what we need in order to tackle all of these big challenges that we have as a people and as a society.
Let me ask you this, Sister Caroline. When we're talking about teaching children about social justice, what age range are you talking about here, and how do we make sure that we, as the adults, those who are responsible for the teaching, provide the teaching in such a way where it doesn't put so much on the small brains or on the minds of the child, where they kind of, they lose their innocence? Because I know that there's that tendency, especially in our community, in our culture, that we want to adultify our children on the struggle, on the movement very, very quickly, and not give that child a chance to enjoy their childhood just as much as they a chance for them to understand and grow and learn their history. So how do we balance that out?
So, what we're doing every day is we're living life, and so are the children. 20 years ago, I wrote a book in response to 9/11. And when I went into kindergarten and first grade classes, the teachers told me that the children had been drawing pictures of of the planes hitting the towers. So in this case, it was not a matter of trying to adultify children. It was a matter of empowering children, of understanding, being empathetic that they are experiencing these issues the same way that we are. And so I wrote a guide called the Say Their Names Imagination Guide that helps parents, teachers, community members talk to children at various age levels about what it means to say their names. We have children who are living in neighborhoods where police shootings are happening. We have children who are losing classmates, very young children. The youngest child named in the book is Ayanna Stanley Jones, who was killed when police broke into her mother's home looking for a brother or a cousin, and it was midnight and they fired into the home, and she was sleeping on the sofa with her aunt, and
Mm,
they had this was in Detroit, and they had thrown some smoke bombs into the house before. It caught the sofa on fire. It caught Ayanna on fire. And so here we have this 7-year-old child who is now dead because once they came in, they started shooting. So it's happening in our children's lives, and we do them a great disservice if we don't respect the fact that they are trying to process these traumatic experiences and provide materials like this book and other books that have been published that open up the conversation in a way that they can understand. You know, it's done very sensitively, and it can be done with any issue.
and how old would you say we start having these conversations, Sister Caroline?
I would say we start having the conversations when we recognize something is happening and the children are already responding. So it's interesting. There's an 18-month-old in my life, and she came to a book reading, and this book is on her bookshelf, and she loves to sit and listen to it. So we're not having conversations necessarily about what's going on in the book. The book does not mention murder, it doesn't mention killing, but it does. Aaliyah helps us understand that some things have happened that have caused us pain. This book really is a journey through the process of healing and finding hope and strength and determination in the midst of this particular tragedy, but in the midst of any tragedy in life. You know, we think about what's happening all over the world where children are living through war. Somebody needs to help them process that. And my work with children over the last 20 years has been about supporting children in the healing process and giving adults the tools to help children, because tragedy is happening every day. We've got climate change happening where
Yep,
people are
yep,
losing their homes, and we have as I said, wars. We've got shootings. You know, children are living with the fact that when they go to school, they have to prepare for an
yeah.
active shooter. I mean, so I don't think there's any age that's too young to start talking to children about some of the things that they might encounter in the world and how to help them face those challenges with love and compassion and strength, and the support of friends and family and community.
Absolutely. I want to get the illustrator on just for a moment, brother Adrian. I would love to get your take, man. Peace and blessings, brother Adrian. Thank you for joining us here this afternoon. And I got my brother Mustafa, as well, that's joining us. And I know it's been a crazy day. And brother Mustafa, you know how it is at Black Star Network when them big stories come down. The conversation gets big. But brother Adrian, I want to get your take on this. What were some of your thoughts as you came across the story? Sister Caroline said, "Look, here's my story. Can you illustrate it? What was the guiding what was the guiding, what was your guide, or how did you envision seeing this story in pictures? Oh, we got you on mute. Go ahead, big brother.
There we go. Yeah, no, I think it was a really cool opportunity. I think exactly what you guys were saying of giving kids the tools and the ability to feel empowered and to feel what they feel, because they're absorbing everything all around us, just like we're absorbing it too. And so finding entryways to have these conversations is incredibly important. And so when I was presented with this story, I just thought it was a really cool opportunity to find a way to make it a little bit more digestible, find a way to bring these really tough conversations into the homes and hopefully create some dialogue, because I think that's obviously where it all starts. And just really focusing the perspective on the kids is so crucial, because we have these conversations with our peers all the time, but we forget sometimes that, these kids are going to be the next ones up. And so finding that balance of giving them responsibility to have these moments in these conversations, but also not burdening them too much early on, so they can still obviously be kids in today's climate.
Absolutely. Brother Mustafa, I want to get your take on this, because this is a very important issue, social justice, and then the work that you're doing, especially around climate care, and more importantly, having these conversations within spaces in our community where, unfortunately, some of our people don't deem them to be important enough to even discuss. So how do you approach having these discussions as well, especially with the next generation, with the babies?
Well, first of all, we bring them back to history. When I think about this particular book, which is over my shoulder, I'm reminded of the words of James Baldwin when he said that if I love you, I have to make you conscious of the things you don't see. It is an opportunity for us to help our young people to understand, how do I move from surviving to thriving? How do I show up in this space? How is it relevant to my life? And we begin there by helping folks to understand how these issues impact us on an everyday level, and not being from a victimhood stance, but understanding that we have power in this moment, and help young people to understand that you don't have to wait until you're an elder to actually have power, to have influence, to have the ability.
I love that. I love that, brother. I think that is absolutely the truth. Sister Caroline, we got a moment left. How can people pick up a copy of the book? Because the crew here, all the folks in the chat, are just really excited about the work that you and Brother Adrian, Brother Mustafa are doing around this issue. So how can folks support?
Thank you so much. And I can't thank these brothers enough for being on with me. They are the strength of our community. The book is available at any bookstore anywhere in the country. You can order it from any bookstore in the country. I want to thank Raycraft Books, which is my publisher, and they are the folks that brought Adrian and me together to create this book. This is the first time Adrian and I have been together in a space like this. So I'm so grateful for his work and for his time. So any bookstore, I live in DC, so there's Mahogany Books and Sankofa and Politics and Prose. All the local bookstores have the books, but bookstores across the country can order the books if they don't have it in the actual bookstore. So
and folks, y'all can go to her website, carolinebrewerbooks.com, carolinebrewerbooks.com. And you can order the books as well and see all the great work that she's doing. I mean, it's a beautiful site. A lot has been is on here, and great for a lot of parents, especially for all of our parents, aunties and uncles and grandparents. They need a resource, and this looks like this will be a great website for that. So Sister Carolyn, Brother Adrian, Brother Mustafa, I appreciate each and every one of you for doing the work that you do. Again, we apologize about the shortness of time, but we would certainly love to bring you back to have further conversations about this, because I think it's too important, especially now, especially during this presidential year, especially during the year of attacks on DEI and so many other things that our people are undergoing, that we need to prepare the next generation for to be a part of the movement for Black liberation. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being so good for the culture.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.